If you play football and you want to know the exact process as to how you can get a scholarship offer, watch this video. So today we're going to be talking about how you guys can submit your film to college coaches, how you guys should talk to a college coach, the actual camps that you should be attending to give you that higher likelihood of receiving a scholarship offer. So we're going to break down the entire recruiting process. So this video is going to give you a ton of value. But also, fellas, something that all college coaches like to see, especially in football players, is speed. So if you guys need to get faster and want to improve your speed, check out that very first link in the description below where you could get access to 100+ speed and agility drills. We map out all the drills for you guys with the exact sets and reps to do. We have different schedules that you can follow, like, hey, Monday you're doing this, Tuesday you're doing that, everything that's going to help you get faster. So check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get started with how you can get an offer. All right, so to receive an official scholarship offer, there are two things that you need, and that is going to be a Hudl account. So if your school does not have Hudl, I highly suggest you get a Hudl account. And then number two, you need an X account, or formerly known as Twitter, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say X. So the reason why you need those two things is that is exactly what college coaches are looking for to start the recruiting process. You have to remember that college coaches are looking for recruits just as much as you are looking for a college to attend and give you a scholarship offer. So you guys are both looking for the exact same thing. It's almost like a dating app if you think about it in that respect. So the first thing you need, obviously, is film. That's why I said Hudl. Hudl is the thing that mostly, I would say probably 98% of all high schools across the country use Hudl. If you don't use Hudl, I highly recommend that you suggest it to your coaches or you use whatever platform that they use for filming. You need something to make a Hudl highlight tape. That is what gets you recruited. Your film is ultimately what gets you recruited. So what do I mean by that? Number one, let's say you're a junior in high school, right? You had a pretty good year. It's your first year on varsity. You had a great season. You need to find like maybe 1 to 3 minutes. That's how long the highlight tape needs to be of your absolute best plays, right? So explosive plays, explosive touchdowns. It doesn't even necessarily, like, let's say you're an offensive player. Touchdowns don't necessarily mean explosive plays because, like, let's say you're a receiver, you're wide open, nobody around you, busted coverage, you catch the ball, touchdown. There's thousands of receivers that can do that exact same thing. It's not a highlight. They want to see explosive plays that showcase your speed, yards after the catch, yards after contact. Are you an explosive playmaker? That's what you need to ask yourself, and that's what you want to showcase on every single play. Does it just have to be offense? No, I'm talking about every single play from the year. What showcases that you are an explosive athlete? Because colleges want to recruit athletes, okay? That's the first thing that you need. Now, why did I say that you need an X account? Because on the X account, you need to post the highlight as your pinned, like, tweet, if you will, right? So you put that on your profile. You make a professional looking profile, like, hey, here's your name, and then you put, like, put your name on the profile, class of whatever, position, this is my height and weight, if those are attributes that you want to showcase, and it should be a very professional looking Twitter page. And then on that Twitter page, you should have the highlights as your pinned tweet. So now you could reach out to college coaches and they could actually see your film. You don't have to reach out to them and send them your film. You reach out, you follow maybe coaches that you meet, and that's what we're going to be talking about throughout the remainder of this video. So now you made the highlight tape, you got the highlights on your page. Now, what do you do next? Where do you go from there? So like I said, you have it on your X account. You're trying to follow different college coaches. And it's a grueling process, right? Like, you just following a bunch of guys does not guarantee that they're going to follow you back, does not guarantee that they're going to open your message. You could pay for the verification on Twitter and still not get people to respond to you, right? So where do you go from there? You will have a higher success rate on Twitter if you actually follow the coaches that you meet in person and interact with in person. So let's say you're in high school and during winter workouts, there is a period called the contact period. The contact period is when different colleges will come to your high school. And again, this factors a lot into the high school that you go to too, right? Because some high schools don't have any college coaches that come to their school. And I'm going to talk about what you can do in that scenario in a second. But let's say you're at a high school where college coaches come in. You want to try to obviously meet those college coaches, shake their hand. Hopefully your coach speaks very highly of you. That's why it's important to have a good relationship with your high school coach. Because college coaches, who's the first person that they go contact when they go to a school? The high school head coach. So if your high school head coach hates you, you're constantly that guy that's showing up late, you don't give good effort. Maybe you're a good player and maybe you're all that that school has, but do you really think he's going to be recommending you like that? Probably not, right? So you want to make sure that you have a great relationship with your high school head coach. So when these coaches meet you, it's like, oh, hey, this coach speaks very highly of you. You give them your height, your weight, they check out your film. You should already have that highlight tape made by the time winter workouts roll around. And then guess what? That's a contact that you have immediately after meeting him. Follow him on Twitter. thank him for his time. All those things. And you don't want to be like, hey, give me an offer. Or, hey, you should check out my film. Thank him for his time. Build a relationship, because that's a guy that you're going to have a long-lasting relationship with if you just stay in contact. If you're consistently uploading to your Twitter account, posting clips of you training, posting clips of you working out, posting clips from the season, different camps that you might go to. Now, what if you're in a situation and that can lead to a scholarship offer, because that coach is who you want to go to. You want to go to his camp. You don't want to go to these big college camps. Like, let's say you live in Colorado. You don't want to go to Deion's camp at the University of Colorado, because if you go to that camp, there's probably gonna be 300-400 other people there. If you've never spoken with a coach from Colorado, guys, they don't even notice you at those camps. You're just another number to them. You're just going to be money in their pocket. They do not care about you. The recruits that they actually care about were on campus probably 2 days before you, and that is who they are watching at the camp. They're not looking for talent in those scenarios. It's mainly for the people that they have already recruited and they already have their eye on. So you want to go to the camps where you've actually met people. So when you're there, they know you're there. You let them know via Twitter, because you have that connection now, because you've actually talked to them in person, thanked them for their time. You weren't pushy and sent them a bunch of film. College coaches are people too. They want a personal relationship. And if you let them know, hey coach, I'm coming to this camp, they're going to be looking for you because they've met you before. There's a face to the name. That's kind of how the process goes. Now, what if you've never met a college coach? What if you're a situation where your school is insanely small? You should be trying to go to something called satellite camps. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So now, what's a satellite camp? A satellite camp is a camp where either a smaller school or maybe an outside group hosts a camp with more than one college in attendance. You know, I use that example of like Deion running that University of Colorado camp. The only people at that camp are University of Colorado coaches. It's their camp. It's at their facilities. Now, Division I FBS schools like Colorado, Texas, etc., cannot go to these satellite camps. I believe it was deemed illegal a little while ago, especially if an outside group is hosting it. But I have seen D1 FCS schools go to these, like Ivy League schools, smaller Division I schools, and especially D2 and D3 schools. They live off of these things. And again, you may be that guy who's like, oh, I want to play D1. What was he talking about? There's so much turnover in the college coaching world that if you were just starting out, an impression on a D2 coach might mean that that D2 coach is a Division I coach the following year. So there's so much turnover, you can never put off an opportunity to impress a guy at the next level. Like, I'll tell you this. I played Division II ball, right, in college. I did not play Division I ball. I had a lot of Division I schools that I would talk to, but none of them ever pulled the trigger on the offer. I had a lot of PWOs. I had a lot of like percentage scholarships, like 20, 30%. It was almost like a preferred walk-on. And I didn't go to any of those. I wanted to go where it was free, right? So I wanted to go where I got the most money as possible, and it was pretty much free. And that's where I ended up going, right? But there were a lot of college coaches that I talked to in that recruiting process that the very next year they were at a different school, right? And maybe, you know, if I would have maybe stayed in contact with those guys, or maybe I had a little bit more time in the recruiting process, maybe I would have gotten more play time when I was younger, like freshman, sophomore, maybe that could have turned into something. But those relationships, guys, and those guys still follow me on Twitter to this day, right? That relationship is always going to be there because they interact with so many people. It's just like, guys, that's the game. The game is relationships. But anyways, got a little sidetracked there. But those satellite camps, guys, those are the ones where you want to go to meet as many college coaches as possible. Shake their hand, thank them for their time. Immediately after the camp, follow them on Twitter. Don't go to these camps just to get an offer. Highly, 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 I don't care who you are, unlikely. You're only getting an offer at a camp if they know you coming in, they've seen a lot of film on you, and they like you already, and you're one of their guys on their board. You're not going to go from unnoticed to offer in one day. It's not going to happen, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go to camps. That means you should go to camps with a different mindset. I'm going to meet these people to get contacts on Twitter, so maybe the following year or maybe during the season when I get some more film, I could send it to these guys. And even if you don't have film, this is how you should work the process. You're just trying to meet people, so when you do get that highlight tape or a mid-season highlight tape, you have contacts to send it to. You have people to communicate with, and that's what can lead to an offer. So now, what is that actual process of receiving the offer like? And that's what we're going to talk about next. So usually a actual scholarship offer is something where it's a written agreement, like usually it's like written out on a piece of paper. Usually if it's a bigger school, they'll invite your family and have a meeting. It'll usually be like maybe on campus. It'll usually be from a coordinator or a head coach. It'll be a legitimate thing, right? Leading up to that process is a grind, right? These coaches come to talk to you. These coaches meet with you, you know, all these things. And it's a grind for sure to be able to get that actual scholarship offer, but it's usually an actual piece of paper. Usually your family is there. Usually they, you know, it's a pretty official looking thing. It's not a verbal thing. You see a lot of scholarship offers being thrown around. They're all verbal, aka non-committable offers. So if you're ever speaking with a coach and he says, we'd love to give you a scholarship offer, first question is it a committable offer? And if it's a committable offer, that's a legitimate offer. If it's non-committable, if he says, oh, well, it's non-committable, we just, we think you have a lot of potential, it's not a real offer. College coaches will offer kids based on potential, so they're not binding to that agreement, if you will, because if the recruit doesn't pan out, they don't have to honor that type of scholarship agreement, right? And usually a committable offer is given, if it's an offer before your junior year, it's a non-committable offer. Can't commit on an offer until the summer before your junior year. That's when you can receive an official offer. So all of these things leading up to the process, messaging coaches, talking to coaches, doing these things, those things is what can lead to this. And usually it happens during the contact period. There are 2 separate contact periods, one in the winter, one in the spring. And that's usually when you'll receive that actual scholarship offer. I got mine in the winter. That was when I got my scholarship. I got probably I want to say 4 or 5. Like I said, they were not the biggest schools in the world. But again, it was during that contact period in the winter. And that is usually when I would say most likely happens. But it's a long process of getting to know people, them liking your film, them meeting you in person, and being able to communicate with your high school head coach. The meeting that I had was myself, my high school head coach, and the offensive coordinator for the school that I was going to, and the head coach. It was both of the coaches. But that is ultimately how the meeting will go down. That is when it goes down, and that's the process that we are looking towards. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys. And again, if you would like to get faster this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below, where you can get access to 100+ speed and agility drills, all broken down with the exact sets and reps to do. And we put things into workouts for you guys to follow, like Monday you're doing this, Tuesday you're doing that, etc. So again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.